I'd like to thank the mayor for taking a picture of all the cops.
Just don't put it on the website.
I used to be one of them.
Showing their total support for you. If they didn't want you to get you.
Brian?
Call to order the February 2013 legislative meeting of the Borough Council. Please rise. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
those of you at home, you'll see that we have quite an assembly of folks here today, many of them in uniform. And we will get to that very, very soon. But before we get there, let's just go through the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the January 3rd, 2013 workshop meeting minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to make one revision, please, which is that under my presentation for that, it says that I mentioned that council needs more financial control over the NBA. In fact, what I said was that I was not against financial controls.
We'll make the motion accept that.
I sure will.
All right. Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. We've adopted the January 3, 2013 workshop meeting minutes. Let's move to the January 17, 2013 public hearing minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. And then we have the January 17, 2013 council meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion on those set of
Make
minutes?
a motion to approve the minutes of January 17, 2013 as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the council meeting minutes for January 17, 2013, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. All right, they've been adopted. All right, well, tonight, thank you very much for being here. It is a cold February evening, but we do have a special occasion. I see men in blue. We have members of the Police Department here. We also have representatives of the Nativity BBM Knights of Columbus. And we have our very own Chief Marty Rusinich. Chief, I understand that there is a presentation tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a little loud for me. It's an honor to be here this evening. Give you a little historical base. In February each year since 1995, we've had the Police Officer of the Year Award. It was an idea of an individual in '94 who I happened to be sharing a soft drink with at the Boathouse restaurant, Mr. Tom Flynn. And Mr. Flynn, since I started here over 34 years ago, was involved with the Media Little League, his parish nativity, Media Youth Center, VFW, an individual who is well known around media, not just the proper borough, but the other communities throughout the area. Tom was an individual who was a firm believer in God, country, and family. Unfortunately, we lost Tom 2 years ago this month. He was actually here and presented the Officer of the Year Award in February and passed in February. We gave each other a hug on a Thursday night after this ceremony, kissed each other on the cheek, and a few days later, Tom was taken to the Lord. We took a year off in deference to Mr. Flynn, and it's my pleasure tonight to be here at a public meeting to oversee the presentation, the Officer of the Year Award for Media Police Department that's been named the Tom Flynn Memorial Award. Before we get into that, I'll go through a roll call here. Mr. President, you're absolutely right. You said you see men in blue, but we also have a lady in red. Officer Nicole Young, the Media Police Department. Sergeant Matt Egan, raise your hands. Officer John McCormick. Officer Richard Light. Officer Rob Brown. Officer Dan DeVito. Lieutenant Rick Johnson. Officer Tom Pinkett. Officer Steve Longbottom. Officer Ed Fulmer. And no surprise, the best dressed is the recipient of the award this year, Eric Gavin. At the present time, I'd also like to, the presentation is part of the Nativity BBM Knights of Columbus. We have two representatives here tonight from the Knights of Columbus who will actually be making the award. Will be Mr. Bob Valenti, Bill Gillespie, okay. And we have the representatives of the Flynn family. Mrs. Flynn Lois, we have Diane, Beverly, her better half, one of their, the Flynn's always shared everything, and Joyce. So without further ado, I'd like to call upon Mr. Valenti from the Nativity BBM Knights of Columbus. And Mrs. Flynn, maybe you could join us up front, as well as the recipient, Officer Gavin.
You know, for me, this is an honor and a pleasure. Tom and I were brother knights, but we were more than brother knights. We were friends. I can remember his father going to my grandparents' house, having wine and playing cards there. So I've known Tom a long time. And as I say, it is my pleasure to do this for him. And for Eric, the Tom Flynn Award presented by the Knights of Columbus of Nativity BBM, Policeman of the Year. I understand you well deserve it. God bless you.
Mrs. Flynn, small token of the appreciation of the members of the Media Police Department. And also, we'd like to present you with a framed picture of Tom at the award ceremony with, that's me, a little younger, and Officer Rob Brown. And just so you know, there's more to the group. We cropped this for you. A close proximity to this will be hanging up in the squad room at the police station in honor of your husband.
On behalf of the Flynn family, I'd like to thank everybody at the Borough Council for letting us take part in this award. I got to meet Eric Gavin for about a half hour. I was early. One of the genes I got from my father, he always had to be at church a half hour early. So I came early and I got to meet you and your family, and it was an honor. Officer Gavin spent time in the first Gulf War and learned how to be to take care of our SWAT team in this area, and not just in other parts of Delaware County. So it was nice meeting you and your family. And the little son there has his own badge. He must be just like his dad. Now, Tommy Flynn usually would go out and have another soft drink with you afterwards. One of the genes I didn't get was beer loving, but so I won't be able to have a beer with you, but I think you can enjoy one with your family. And so this is from the Flynn family.
Oh, my goodness.
So you have a beer on us. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure? Okay, fine. I just hope somebody had a card for me. What are you doing later, Dave? You got your wallet with you? You got your wallet with you, Dave?
Unfortunately, no, Chief.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Officer of the Year for 2012, Officer Eric Gavin.
I'd like to first thank the Borough Council for giving us a minute to sneak in here and do this. I'd like to thank my brother and sister officers for coming out tonight. Some of you guys should have left about an hour and 10 minutes ago, but I appreciate you coming in. You guys support me, and we try to support each other, and I appreciate everything you guys do for me. I'd like to introduce my family. My lovely wife Deborah, my daughter Brett, Bridget, and my son Wayne, who are wearing the badge. I have a couple people I'd like to thank here. Let me just get my notes. That was my gag for the night. It's very special to have. I'd like to thank the chief.
Who do you think gave you the joke?
Having met Mr. Flynn in the past, having had a soft drink or two with him in the past, celebrating the Officer of the Year, it's a huge honor to be the inaugural recipient of that award. He's a very special man. He's left his mark on our town, on the towns surrounding the borough, and he's touched a lot of lives. Children who benefited from the sports associations that he began, and the folks at the church, Nativity BBM, the Knights of Columbus, and all the other associations that he had taken part and being a part of. So I just want to conclude by saying it's an honor to have received this award. I appreciate the votes from my brother and sister officers, which is how they came to, I came to receive the award. And well, I just want to thank you. Thank you very much.
Not many will remember, but I used to look like that.
I remember, Marty.
What's your name, Pete? Anyone else care to say anything or whatever? God bless you all. We appreciate your attention. Mr. President, Mayor, Council members, Mr. Smith, we thank you for having us here this evening. And maybe we could recess. Anybody wants a photograph? Council ladies with that guy, man, you get that, you know, feel more than friends.
You're a hard act to follow, Chief. I think it's appropriate for us to take a recess of a couple of minutes.
Okay, we're going to recess for a little bit, and anybody wants a photo op, we'll be right out here. Thank you.
We've just had a wonderful ceremony, and it's a hard act. The chief is a hard act to follow, but we'll have to soldier on. All right, so now we come to the point where we invite the public to come forward to the microphone, and if they wish to address something that's on the agenda or wish to address something off the agenda, they may do so. I see that we have a couple representatives of the Media Upper Providence Free Library, Maria Cicchetti and Ada Martini. And I understand that at least one of you might have a few words to say.
A few words, yes, thank you. My name is Maria Cicchetti, and I'm a member of the Media Upper Providence Free Library's Board of Trustees, and we are pleased and privileged to announce tonight that the library was awarded a $500,000 grant from the state of Pennsylvania on Friday, February 15th, and this grant comes to us as a matching grant, and it was a competitive process. So in the state of Pennsylvania, there were 41 applicants. 21 actually triggered the application, 15 were chosen, we were one of those 15. And we were given the maximum amount of the award, which was $500,000. So in the history of the grant, there's been 212 libraries awarded, and we are now one of the privileged few, I would say, out of thousands of libraries in the state. It will be an 18-month grant process once we get started. So in the next 2 years, look forward to seeing a beautiful library on the space at 1 East Front Street. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more about us. And I invite you to please take a look at our program and our plans on our website, mediaupperprovidencelibrary.org. And we'll keep you abreast with press releases as we start down this campaign. And we'd like to thank the borough for being very supportive through the process of writing the grant. We had guidance all along the way. It took us about 6 months to trigger the application. So we're very pleased. So thank you.
Maria, before you go, Maria, only because we need to do things in certain ways.
Yes.
Can you please tell us on what street and which municipality you live?
I live in Nether Providence. I live on 701 Pine Ridge Road. I am a property owner in the Borough of Media.
We're getting more information than we need. But thank you.
And I'm on the board, and I'm also a volunteer at the library, and came on board when I saw the construction plans going up.
We hear the word grant, it is a very short word, but it represents an awful lot of hard work. And it is very impressive that you received the maximum amount that is offered by the state, especially in these times. And that is a reflection upon your efforts and your smarts. So congratulations very much. I understand that this is the first step among several.
I accept on behalf of the entire board. Thank you.
All right, I see another familiar face in the audience, Mr. Leahy. I understand that you might wish to say a few words involving a sporting event.
Yes, go have your golf shoes on.
Bobby, if I wore my soft spikes in here, I would have slipped.
Bring the mic up.
Bring the mic in.
I also do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You okay?
I'm not going to say it, I know. Real quick, the 30-second item. We hope to draw from the crowd that's going to be coming into the area for the U.S. Open. It'll be at Marion in Ardmore. Approximately 20,000 people from outside the area will be visiting us in the second week of June. Also, there'll be about 4,000 members of the press international will be here. It's the first time since 1981 the U.S. Open has been held in this part of the state. Bob played in the last one, as far as I know, at least the qualifier. And also, we expect to draw, because we're going to have the whole month of June as special golfing events, entertainment. We're looking to have fun, entertainment, and education for everybody who's interested in golf. Bob's got a couple of ideas about putting contests that we're already adopting. We have a lot of volunteers, and we hope to bring people who are in the area come to media, because we know we do things well in media, and we also have a very good reputation as services and entertainment. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bob.
Okay, and Art asked for a proclamation so he could take it to the representatives of the USGA who are sponsoring the tournament. So
And PGA.
And PGA.
Right.
So it's actually under the.
It's under the USGA, but the PGA is also going to help us out by having entertainment that they providing, supervised competition, also lectures for golfers that we're hoping to have at the Bar Association building, and also some what they call entertaining expos.
Okay, and there's a film too?
We're going to do the
I mean, a play.
I wrote a play. It was my wife's fault. Anyway, I wrote a play. It's going to be done in Media Theater. It's golf themed. It's called Death on the 16th Fairway. There's 10 presentations. They'll be scheduled from June 5th through June 16th. It's rated PG. There's no guns in it, and it's about the life in the golf industry at the private country club level. It's from real experiences with a little enhancement that I put in there.
Okay. This is the proclamation, whereas golf is a recreational and a competitive sport that is played by millions of people of all ages and ability levels across the United States, whereas golf is a proven means of achieving physical fitness, and whereas the United States Golf Association is sponsoring the 2013 U.S. Open at Marion Country Club in Ardmore, and whereas the U.S. Open will be held on June 10 through 16, be it resolved, the Borough Media proclaims the month of June to be Golfers Month of the 2013 U.S. Open, and I know you've got some special guests that you're lining up, but rather than say, we'll just make sure you got them.
Yes, we have a named charity for every time the show is presented at the theater, and also recognition for certain charities.
He will give this back, but
Thanks,
he is
Bobby.
taking it to the...
Yes, I'll be taking this to a number of the sponsors, and also when we receive it by the email, it's going to go out to the USGA, who will send it out to their list. I'm also trying to get us on the list of golf-related events in the area during the month of June with the USGA and the PGA. Okay?
Thanks.
It should help business. That's the idea.
Yes.
All right?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Council.
Rob.
Great
Appreciate
time.
it.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Make sure you have your putter available.
Not all I can use it.
We're not hitting the driver in meeting, I know that.
Well, don't know that we have enough limelight to go around tonight. Does anyone else wish to come forward and address council at this time?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Johnson is
Fixing
fixing them up. Okay, very good. Seeing that there is no one else who wishes to address council now, let us then move to our engineers report.
Good evening. Engineers report for January 2013 is short. We applied for a new MS4 application on behalf of the borough. We went back and forth with DEP on minor items, and we haven't heard anything since. I expect that they are now satisfied. We completed the contract closeout paperwork for Super for the 2012 road overlay. We also put out for bid and received bids on Philip Green Park, which will be brought up later in one of the councilwoman's report. Last is 8th and Olive Street sewer rehabilitation. I'll bring everybody a little bit more up to date. We've met with the contractor. He sent a schedule this afternoon, which we are reviewing, and I will share that with the council in next week. We're finishing up submittals, and I expect construction to start sometime in March. But prior to that, we're going to schedule with Mr. Smith a meeting of the residents that are affected with the construction.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Does anyone on council wish to ask our engineer a question?
Yes, I would. Bob, could you just bring up the public speed in terms of what the progress is going to be this year with the repairs to the garage structure?
Garage structure, I asked for an updated schedule. The structural engineer's done some work. I'm expecting to have an updated schedule, which I will forward over to council also. Again, the anticipation is that work will be able to be bid and work to be done in the summertime.
And since there is more than one garage structure in media, this is the garage at Baltimore and Olive Street.
Correct.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Johnson? Then we will move on to Mr. Scott.
Thank you. I do not have a report tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott? We'll then move to the mayor. The mayor, Mr. Mayor, I understand that you've already given part of your report, but we still have something remaining on your agenda.
Yes, this will take about 5 minutes. The police department in the month of January handled a total of 676 complaints. There were no reported burglaries during the month of January, and there were a total of 28 traffic details, and that includes 94, less than 5.
Does anyone have any questions of the mayor? Hearing none, we'll move into our committee reports. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, President Hall. Let's start with the payment of bills for January. I hereby ask the council and the finance committee is reviewed and would like to recommend the payment of bills for January in the amounts of $360,516.06 for the general fund, $5,810.89 for the recreation fund, no funds from liquid fuels, $18,201.07 for the capital fund, for a total of $384,528.02.
Second motion?
Motion has been made to pay the borough's bills for the month of January out of the General Recreation and Capital Fund. Is there any question on the motion before I call the question?
Two very quick ones. If there is a tally for any fees that we've incurred for the litigation between the borough, the county, and the swim club for the month of January. And I know I was traveling in the January session if we were given a year-to-date total for 2012 or a summary total for 2012 with those expenses. I understand if you didn't pull it together tonight, we can do it next month. But yeah. But do we have them for January?
For the month of January, yes, a total of $437.50. Both of the, one was for $390, the other was for $47.50, and they were both related to legal with regard to the project.
Great. And do you mind, Jeff, for next month, just getting us the 2012 year total for that?
Sure, absolutely. Sure.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions before I call the question? All right, we have a motion that has been seconded. All those in favor of the borough paying its bills for the month of January as outlined by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
The motion passes 6-1.
Next on my agenda is the ratification of an agreement for the review and duplication of business records. Just to bring the public up to speed, a few may have read in the Town Talk paper that Centax went out of business last year. They were the tax collector for Borough Media. We took action last year to switch tax collectors. I'm happy to report that our tax revenues we received last year were on the mark, if not slightly above where we were. Thankfully to help from the Finance Committee as well as the engineer, Mr. Smith. But at this point, we need to ratify an agreement which allows us to go and collect those records from Centax that are ours. So I will make that in the form of motion to ratify this.
Second?
There is a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
A little more clarity on that. I mean, were
This is effectively what Blaine we got copies of fully basis records from.
but it's also the concept that then they have the ability to destroy any remaining records?
I'm going to turn to Mr. Scott.
Yes. The court ordered that this is all of Centax's clients' opportunity to collect their records. And if they don't do it, the receiver that was appointed to dispose of Centax's assets then has the ability to destroy any records that are not collected.
Can we table this? Because it's my understanding from just being part of the industry that several municipalities in the western part of the state, once again, have filed action saying that this is prohibited under Act 511 and that it is, I mean, I'm not opposing it. I don't want to say that go ahead and destroy it when a judge a month from now may say that the receiver doesn't have the legal right to destroy the records.
Well, let me just comment quickly. So we did send our accountant, basically accountant Blaine, over to retrieve the records. He did find a few records which were relevant to Media Borough, but otherwise there was not much there. We did talk to our existing tax collectors, eCollect and Keystone, and neither of them said that they had any missing records that they needed for collection of any of the past few taxes last year. So, given that, I'm not averse to considering a table of this if other council members are in favor, and I would be happy to do so.
You can simply withdraw the motion.
Well, so would you like me to withdraw the motion?
I believe that there is possibility of litigation, and also, I was in the industry for 18 years, and I really do question the legality of the receiver. I mean, the Act 511 clearly references that all records are ours, and is the responsibility of the collector, even the receiver, to return said records to us, not to give us the authority to destroy it. I've addressed my concerns of having
Bob, we had a conversation about this in terms of ownership
Well,
of records.
There are records. This was our opportunity to get them. As far as we know, we got our records. I don't mind if you want to, if you want to withdraw it, and I'm aware of the litigation.
Are you?
Actually, in all honesty, we didn't have an opportunity to discuss this at workship, so I will.
I just found out
I'll
this
withdraw
today,
my
so I do
motion.
apologize.
And I guess there's no timing issue with this, is there?
No, because we've already done what we need.
Okay, great. So I will withdraw, and we'll discuss it at workshop.
And I will see what the nature of that litigation is.
Seems just to be getting more of an issue each day.
Yeah, but I think, I do think as a practical purposes for this borough, it doesn't matter. We got our records.
Agreed.
So,
All right, so folks at home, you'll hear more about this next month.
I'll just make a comment that when a tax collector goes out of business like this, it tends to be a little bit messy, and I'm happy to report that we averted most of these issues last year. So this is, I think, the only remaining issue.
Don't disagree. Just want to close the door. We don't have to.
And again, so this next motion I'm going to make, we did not have the opportunity to discuss in the workshop. I had the flu. I apologize, I was not there. But I'd like to make a motion. We have a vehicle in the code enforcement department, which we'd like to liquidate and turn into capital. This is a pretty standard procedure. And so I'd like to make a motion to authorize the advertisement for a bid to sell a vehicle for the code enforcement department and sell a fixed asset.
Second motion.
All right, there's been a motion that's been seconded to liquidate a vehicle. Can we sell tickets to that? To sell a vehicle. Any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor of selling the vehicle as described by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
So, the only other news I have is I just wanted to congratulate the library for receiving the grant of $500,000 for the refresh project. I want to encourage all residents who value the library as an asset to this town and want to see some of the designs they have on their website. I will correct Ms. Cicchetti that the website for the library is mediauplibrary.org. It's not mediaulibrary.org. So go to their website. Right in the front page is a beautiful diagram of what they're trying to put in place there. And I think anyone who takes a look at that will see the value of this project. And, sorry, the camera's, anyway, and therefore I hope that with this grant in place and the funding from Media Borough, we're hoping to somehow make this project move forward. And that's all I have to report.
Any questions from Councilman Davidson? Not hearing any, we'll move on to Councilwoman Rose.
Several appointments, reappointments, and one resignation for boards and committees this evening. The first is with regret that I will make a motion to accept the resignation from the Recreation Board of Jennifer Farber. She is no longer able to serve in that capacity, and I would like to make that in the form of a motion that with our thanks and gratitude for all that she's done, we accept her resignation.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Those in favor of accepting the resignation of Jennifer Farber from the Recreation Board with thanks and with regret, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
The second is an appointment to the Shade Tree Commission. This is Lori Ambrezi, and please forgive me if I am mispronouncing the last name. This will be a 5-year term for the Shade Tree Commission. It has been approved by Kathleen LaRusso. And Easy, I'm sorry, I've already messed it up. I'm very sorry, Lori. Okay, I promise to get it right for every time going forward. But I would very much like to make the form of a motion that we accept Lori Ambrezi's 5-term appointment to the Shade Tree Commission.
All right, there's been a motion, and do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of appointing? Oh, that's right. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Other than my pronunciation.
I would just like to correct the record that her last name is Imbesi.
Imbesi.
I-M-B-E-S-I, no R.
I've persisted in mispronouncing that, Lori, so again, sorry. But we're very, very excited to have you on the Shade Tree Commission if everyone so votes.
All right, is there any more discussion on the motion? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. Those in favor of appointing Lori Ambesi to a 5-year term on the Shade Tree Commission, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes.
The next two are reappointments. One is for Ernie Derrickson, who is up for reappointment to the Civil Service Commission. He has served in this capacity before and has been very proficient, and we, again, with gratitude, hope that he will continue to serve if we so vote. So I make that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? There is a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of reappointing Ernie Derrickson Jr. to the Civil Service Commission for a 6-year term, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And the last reappointment this evening is for Alan Menzel. It is a 5-year term, a reappointment to the ICC Life Safety Appeals Board. Again, he has served us in wonderful ways, and we hope very much that he will enjoy continuing to do so as we so vote this evening.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those who favor the reappointment of Alan Mansell to a 5-year term to the ICC Life Safety Appeals Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And just in the form of announcements tonight, as always, please do check frequently and as often as you can the Recreation Board's website, through the Borough website. They have wonderful, wonderful spring programs. They often do their Easter egg hunt is coming up very shortly. I don't know the date off the top of my head, I'm sorry. But it's a lovely event. They always do great things with the Easter Bunny and all spring festivities, so please do check in with that. Again, if you have any issues with trees or any foliage on your properties that you believe that the borough should be involved with, do not hesitate to reach out to the borough. Thank you. Reach out to the borough about any concerns in there. And President Hall has gratefully, very graciously told me that the Easter egg hunt is on Saturday, March 23rd at 11 a.m. and the rain date will be that Sunday, March 24th. So please do plan to participate. It's always a lovely event, and we look forward to seeing you all there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Councilwoman Rowe before we move on to Councilwoman or Vice President Simpson?
Actually, I have one question. For the Recreation Board, can anyone go to the Recreation Board for any of their items that they do, whether it's a bus trip somewhere? It doesn't have to be strictly Media Borough residents. It can be people from the surrounding area, from all of Delaware County.
Yeah, I think that's up to the board, and I would strongly encourage anyone to do that. If they have anything that they think would be of interest, the board will decide whether, it's an appropriate thing for the borough to stand behind or not. But if nothing else, it's great exposure, and even if the Recreation Board couldn't facilitate the actual event, I think they're a great resource for advice and guidance, and they've had such great experience and such successful events in the past that, yeah, I would absolutely encourage anyone to reach out to them for that kind of thing, because I think in the end it'll be a win-win for everyone.
Right. And any resident in the area can join, like buy tickets and go.
Oh,
It's not just
absolutely.
Media Borough residents. Like
Yeah, no.
I had someone question me about that. They lived in Devon Providence, and they were asking if they could go on one of the bus trips that Media Recreation had put together. And
Yeah, I can't imagine they would ever say no to any of their neighbors.
I would say absolutely, but they weren't quite sure. If
I
it
would
was
never
just
imagine
regulated
that
to
we'd
Media
say no
Borough.
to any neighbors.
Okay.
We get first dibs.
Oh, yeah,
but-
it's first come, first served by the residents, like
Right.
that.
All right, any other questions or points of discussion for Councilwoman Rowe? We'll move to Vice President Simpson.
Thank you very much. Before I start my committee reports, I wanted to take a moment and recognize the loss of a community member who was very active in all aspects. Mike Ferguson, although he lived in Upper Providence, was dedicated to the students and to the school district. He grew up here, went to Nativity, and he will be sorely missed. He was very supportive of the Media Area Girls Softball League. He was very supportive of all of the productions, both at the elementary level, then at the middle school, and finally as his daughters grew up to the high school level. And even after they left for college, he still continued to support the theater programs there. Wonderful volunteer. Many know him as his position of Director of Operations for Media Real Estate, and I'd like to ask for a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you very much. Mike will be sorely missed. When going on to the committee reports, Properties Committee, as our engineer mentioned, I am making a motion this evening to award a contract to Garjewel and Sons from Brookhaven, Pennsylvania, for the remediation of the damage done at the Philip Green Park from the storm storm that Sandy brought to our area. This award is in the amount of $16,200, which was the lowest bidder of all the bids that had been received. And that's a form of a motion. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of awarding to Garjewel and Son the contract for Philip Green Park storm pipe replacement in the amount of $16,200, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Our engineer also mentioned Hootman Park Improvement Project, and I'm very happy to see that from our initial grant receipt and subsequent development of the master plan for Hootman Park, which is borough-owned property in Upper Providence Township, that we have been fortunate to receive additional grants through the work of Karen Tussack-Lux, our grant writer. And yesterday was the kickoff for Phase 2, which will be the actual execution of the master plan. And there will be advertised community meetings about that. And the plans are available on the master plan is available through our website, I believe.
Yes.
So if you're interested in seeing that, keeping the park as a not developed with Ferris wheels or anything, but a passive park for those to enjoy. So the meeting went very well and included not only our borough representatives, our properties committee members, but also Upper Providence representatives, engineers from both townships and municipality, and our grant writer who is leading the project. So it's exciting to see this coming to fruition. Next, I'd like to just make a couple of announcements regarding fair trade. Today, actually, at the Penn State Brandywine campus, which, by the way, is the first fair trade commuter campus in the U.S., they hosted an art show. The artwork there was created by students at the Walden School, which is the first fair trade elementary school in the U.S. These drawings were fantastic. They have fair trade themes with the organic or fair trade bananas. The students made the drawings and had the little concept that they were trying to promote. This youngster said, I got more money than I used to as the worker, and fair trade means helping people who are less fortunate than us get paid fairly. That was Jason Haggard from 3rd grade. And I do have to show this one as well, if you'll give me a few minutes. Africa, fantastic fair trade. This student, who was a 5th grader, depicted a kid in Africa drawing a picture and a student in Chicago drawing the same picture. And their message was, by purchasing fair trade chocolate, we are helping people in another part of the world. People also get fair amounts of money for their work, and that makes a difference in their lives. What was beautiful about this art exhibit was that donations were given and folks purchased basically by donations these artworks. The school then donated the money that they received to a nonprofit called Fresh Artists. This organization purchases art supplies and distributes them to students in Chester who do not have art supplies. So the concept grows, and they're doing a wonderful job. And we're happy to have 2 things happening with fair trade here in the upcoming months. The first weekend in March, we will be hosting a National Fair Trade Strategic Planning meeting here at the Borough. It's 3 days that students from the fair trade universities across the country, and also representatives from the other fair trade cities across the country are coming to media. We'll be having their strategic planning for the year here. So when you see them with their identification badges in town, they'll be shopping, they'll be dining, they'll be working hard during the day here in the Powell and the Community Center. Please open and recognize them and welcome our community. It's a great, a really great effort to have outreach across the country and show these folks why they come to us, because we were the first, and that's why they have chosen us to have their national campaign meeting here. So please, that's March 1st weekend. The other thing coming up, Wednesday, May 1st, we will have 2 fair trade farmers from Ghana. They produce cocoa for Divine Chocolates, and in fact, if you'll pass these out, if someone from the audience will come get these and share. Divine Chocolate is made with fair trade chocolate, fairly traded, and the folks that produce these are also 40% owners of Divine Chocolate. So they're actually contributing, and their work is exceptional throughout Ghana. They're going to be coming and they'll be lecturing at different schools here. And then that happens to be a Wednesday, May 1st, and during that evening's Dining Under the Stars, these two fair trade farmers will be at Earth and State so that you can come and speak to them directly. And they're really dynamic speakers. They were here last year and we welcome them back again. So that would conclude the fair trade announcements. And then for the farmers market news, please go to their website at mediafarmersmarket.com and subscribe to their newsletter. This will be able to keep you updated on weekly events, latest recipes, and also the latest on the current harvest. And the market will open in a few months and operate on Thursdays from 3 to 7 p.m. That concludes my report and announcements.
Any questions for Vice President Simpson?
Just one quick one. How are you with Fair Trade Live? Is that happening this year?
Fair Trade Live has taken a different direction, and they're breaking it into smaller events instead of one big event.
So their application is withdrawn for their mass
Yes, they
gathering,
did.
and
They
they'll
already-
resubmit to whatever they'd like to.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, before we move on to my agenda items, I would like to emphasize the importance of the Hoopman Park project. Many of us think that that is part of the borough. It's actually not. It's in Upper Providence. We own the land, but it's not within the borders of Media. It's outside the borders of Media. I think many of us regard it as something of a backwater. It's down there, Lincoln Street. Not too many people go there, and it's in need of a little bit of love. This project really has the potential of transforming a backwater into a place that folks will look forward to going. I think that we'll see over the next couple of years, it might be 2 or 3 years, that we'll see this transformation taking place. I think that not only are we impressed by it, but the representatives of Upper Providence who saw this, they also were equally impressed by this. It'll be an asset not only for our community, but for Upper Providence as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll turn our attention to my portion of the agenda. Unfortunately, the bottomless bag has reached bottom, and I can't find my notes, so I'm flying a little bit by wire here. But I think I can get through it. I have several agenda items. The first is to authorize our solicitor to draft and advertise amendments to our recycling ordinance. Our recycling ordinance is something out of the Stone Age. It is an analog document that is in a digital world. It's in need of some attention. And our solicitor has brought it to our attention that it will be to our advantage to look at that portion of our code and make appropriate changes. I'd like to allow him to have at it. So that's the nature of the motion. We're asking for authority for our solicitor to take a look at our recycling ordinance and bring it up to date.
Second motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize our solicitor to draft and advertise amendments to the recycling ordinance. Are there any questions for discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
The next item concerns resignation from our planning commission. One of our current planners, Dan Costello, has indicated that he wishes to resign from the planning commission. And with regret, I will make the motion that we accept that resignation.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept with the resignation from the Planning Commission of Daniel Costello. Are there any questions? Call the count. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
In a related matter, I'm moving to authorize our solicitor to draft and advertise an ordinance amending the number of planning commission members. At the present time, we have 9 seats on planning commission, one of which has been vacant for more than a year now. With Mr. Costello's resignation, that we've just accepted, we are now at 7 planning members. And I think that that is a good number for the planning commission on to date. We've got 7 members who have been there for a number of years. They're all solid. There is no need that I can see that we have 2 additional seats on that commission. In fact, we run the risk that there is not sufficient members of the planning commission present to reach a quorum. If we have 9 members and only 4 show up, we do not have a quorum. That actually happened in January. I'm going to move that we reduce the number of planners on the commission from, or reduce the number of seats on the commission from 9 down to 7, and authorize the solicitor to draft and advertise such an amendment to our ordinance.
The motion's been made and seconded to authorize our solicitor to draft and advertise an ordinance amending the number of planning commission members from 9 to 7. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries.
And thankfully, Mr. Smith came to the rescue because I did not have the list that is important for me to make the next motion. The past couple of meetings, you have heard me talk about the comprehensive plan task force and requested that those who have an interest to submit their letters of interest or their expression of interest to the borough. We have had 11 persons do so. This is a group that will meet the first Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. in the upstairs conference room at Borough Hall. And the 11 persons that have expressed interest, we've discussed them, and I would like to, I'm moving tonight that all of them be put on the task force, be appointed to the task force. They are Steve Allred, Zachary Barner, Louis Barnew, Robin Beaver, hi Robin, my neighbor, Addie Janella, Judy Fowler, Lisa Johnson, Gail Keenitz, Tamara Mangini, Brendan O'Riordan, and Paul Robinson. So I make it in the form of a motion that these 11 persons be appointed to the Comprehensive Plan Task Force.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
Just a comment, just a clarification that any member, these are public meetings, and that members of the public are encouraged and are certainly welcome to attend the meetings, whether they're officially on the task force or not, but their input is certainly welcome.
Correct.
Right, the motion's been made and seconded to appoint to the comprehensive task force the list that Brian, the 11 persons President Hall has just relayed. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Nay.
And the motion carries.
And Mr. Smith, will you send a letter to each of these persons to inform them? Thank you very much. Sure. I have a couple of announcements, both involve the Media Arts Council. The first is the yearly film festival. These are actually related items. I think that this is the fourth or fifth year that the Media Arts Council has had a film festival. The dates this year are April 5th and April 6th. This is something of a change-up. Traditionally, it's been either in February or in March. It is now going to be in April. That's a Friday, the first Friday and the first Saturday in April. Those of you who have attended know that there is a number of offerings. They are wonderful in quality, and it's a great way to learn a thing or two about making movies. Because as of last year, there were several workshops that were offered in connection with the film festival. So take a look at the Media Arts Council website and you'll get information there about times and dates. The other related announcement involves what is called MyFi. It's the Media Youth Film Initiative. This is something that is sponsored by the Media Arts Council. It is held at the Media Youth Center. And what it is an opportunity for high school students to produce, act in, edit, film their own movie. There is a fee associated with this. It's $225. I think the applications are due at the end of this month, February 27. Take a look at the Media Youth Center website or call the Media Youth Center, and they'll be able to provide you with information about this. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn this craft. It's also a wonderful opportunity to have something shown because this is the second offering of this program. The first offering produced a film called Imagine, which will be shown at the Media Film Festival. So it's a wonderful opportunity if you're all interested in filmmaking process. Please, and you're a high school student, this is something that might interest you. I believe that it is held on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Media Youth Center, beginning in March, extending into the beginning part of May. And there is financial assistance potentially available. So that completes my agenda.
Thank you. President Hall?
Anyone have any questions for him? Good, we'll move on to Dr. Stein.
All right, thank you. A few items for business. To start off, we have I'd like to request that we advertise an RFP for an IT strategic plan. We made tremendous progress in the last couple of years in terms of upgrading our website and also upgrading and improving the infrastructure for the borough staff and management. But we are at the point where we need to look out now to our future needs, and Mr. Smith can comment on this. We have allocated money for that. And Jeff, could you just make a comment about that?
Oh, sure. The Finance Committee, I should say the IT Committee and also the Finance Committee discussed for a number of years. The Code Enforcement Department has been talking about a GIS. So unfortunately, in order to get to a GIS, the thought process was perhaps we consider developing the first ever IT strategic plan for the borough, which would entail a GIS, et cetera, et cetera. So the Finance Committee discussed taking the funds that had been allocated for the last decade for GIS, put it into the development of an IT strategic plan. So essentially it's money that's been budgeted, but instead of budgeting it for something that we're not yet ready to do, the thought process was to simply put it toward developing a plan. So that's essentially, so the money was shuffled from the capital fund, put into the operating fund to hopefully move forward with a IT strategic plan.
You mind if I just quickly comment? For those at home who don't understand those acronyms, GIS stands for Geographic Information System, which is effectively a way of mapping properties and what's happening with pipes and things like that. It's something we're going to put into this plan, but it's at this point we're not ready to implement.
Thank you.
All right, the motion's been made for advertising request for proposals with regard to an IT strategic plan. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Question regarding the funding that had been put away for GIS that's now being moved to operating for the IT strategic plan. Does that mean GIS has to start funding all over again, or has finance and or IT found some way to, money that's been squirreled away for years for this project now is just being moved for a document versus I'm assuming, a software program?
I can answer a couple of things that Mr. Smith and Ken can also comment on it. I mean, 10 years ago, GIS was a certain type of system, and it was very, very expensive. If you want to think GIS, think Google Maps. I mean, think Google Maps taken to, but there are GIS, there's GIS software that's available almost, for free. That would be a Google Maps type GIS. I think that, so anyway, so the software can range, the capabilities have changed, and until we really get a handle on what our actual needs are, it's very hard because a GIS attempts to map very complex things like pipes and layers within the infrastructure of a town. So we need to prioritize that. So it seems to us that the better use of the time and money right now is, as opposed to for a specific project, is to allocate the time and money for the prioritization of future projects, which could include a GIS. But the good news is that the software for GIS has actually come down considerably in that time frame. So.
Do you mind if I just add something? I think maybe just to answer the question more directly would be, we have a line item in the budget every year. It's about $10,000 for the GIS system. It was never spent. This year we said we're just going to move that over to this IT plan. After this year, we'll move back to GIS again, or whatever we come up with this plan.
So we're going to incorporate, assuming we're going to do a complete IT strategic plan.
Correct.
Not just, question 2 is this also police department oriented?
Yes.
Versus borough?
So I'm going to let Mr. Dr. Stein address that one.
No, it's borough-wide.
So borough meets police as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And do we have any, because my only issue is that, in meetings I've had with police and personnel, they're down 2 computers right now. We've had one major blow up, and I'm all for strategic planning, but, you know, if we don't have equipment that works, you know.
Right, and at this time, I mean, that's what our priority has been, putting together our infrastructure, and Mr. Smith certainly can comment on the status of his side, but I think he's also aware of the status of what's going on the police side. But that's been the focus for our energies in the last year and a half has been make sure our infrastructure, our piping is working. Mr. Smith, do you want to comment on that?
No, specifically, yes.
Yes,
Dr. Stein's saying, but to answer Councilman Robinson's question, yes, the chief had requested and was granted both by the Finance Committee and Borough Council to upgrade those computers. I believe that just this week they're upgrading their backup server capabilities, and I believe the chief also in the pipeline wanted to get that done, and then he had a couple of computers that he wanted to move forward. So in the budget, ready to go.
Holding up actual hardware.
No.
I don't think this will subtract any monies from immediate needs of the police department or any other department for that matter.
Yeah, good, that point.
With the strategic plan or IT plan, there will be some, I mean, I'd like to touch base with you guys. I'd like to look at the idea of getting rid of handwritten police tickets and going to a, you know,
Sure, I mean,
an automated system.
we did some preliminary planning a few years ago. In fact, we brought in representatives from all the departments, including the police. We got lots. I have that information. We'll feed that to the IT planners. You know, things like automating permitting, automating tickets, automating all those components, as you know, as our infrastructure builds, and as we realign our business processes, through Mr. Smith. Office and operation. Yeah, I think that's all the kinds of things we want to look at. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of advertising a request for proposal with regard to an IT strategic plan, please say aye.
Yes. Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, so the next one, well, I'm happy to announce that if you are now going down State Street, you can use your credit card to park in the spaces. I want to thank the borough staff. I want to thank my colleague Kent on the IT committee and also the council for their support of this initiative. So we have actually 48. We have 50 meters that have gone in on State Street, and you still can use coins, you still can use smart card, but now you'll be able to actually put your credit card in and slide it into the slot and pay for your time through the credit card transaction. And it's we're delighted to have that. I think it's a positive step for residents and visitors, and adds just more to convenience in terms of downtown shopping and dining. So really excited about that. This represents phase one of kind of a modernization of the parking area. And so phase two of that would include putting parking kiosks in our garage, and specifically in the municipal parking garage, for example, on Olive Street. So the next motion is to authorize advertisement of a bid for parking kiosks at the municipal parking garage. What this would provide would be to, we would take the meters out, and then you would be able to just, again, you'd have the flexibility of paying with a credit card, with coin, or with cash, or a smart card, and with the kiosk. So, it saves us on the operating costs, collection time, so on and so forth. So, again, we think this is also a positive step. So, I make it in the form of a motion to authorize advertising bids for parking kiosks at our municipal parking garage.
All right. There's been a motion that's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing advertisement of bids for parking kiosks at the Olive Street parking garage, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
The next item is simply to provide a letter of support. The Department of Energy at the national level is trying to promote the reduction of renewable energy sources and specifically solar. What they're trying to do is make it easier for people, if they want solar, to be able to get it. And one of what we're finding now is that the biggest obstacle is not so much the price of the hardware, but the regulations and the permitting process there. And so they established a program called the Sunshot Program, which is to enlist the help of municipalities across the country to try to rationalize the permitting processes surrounding being able to put solar on your roof. So it's essentially a streamlining process. So Penn Future, which is an organization that represents the interest of Pennsylvanians, has put together a collaborative effort for grant funding, and they are asked if we would like to be involved in that process. I think it's an excellent idea. Right now, they're just simply asking for a letter of support for the initiative. Moving forward, the initiative is contingent upon Penn Future getting the grant, but we would, and then we can decide at that time if we want to continue to participate. But I think it's a terrific program, and I'd like to say at this time to just provide a letter of support to Penn Future in their application of the grant process to the Department of Energy Sunshine Program.
Second.
There's been a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing Councilman Stein to sign a letter of support with regard to the Department of Energy grant opportunity, the Sunshine Program, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you all. Just some announcements here. I'll continue with the EAC, Environmental Advisory Council. Media's Parlor Room will be the site for an upcoming meeting of the Delaware County EAC, so they get together periodically to kind of do some joint planning, which is a great thing. As many of you know, we do have solar arrays on 9 of borough public buildings. But the question is, how much energy is being generated? Well, the nameplate value of those is about 35 kilowatt hours for those who are interested. But it would be nice to tie in with the EAC, and with part of their mandate is to try to provide education and connect with educators in the community. So I thought it would be nice to be able to provide some real-time monitoring, and we could bring that into schools, education, and so on. So we started to look at the possibility of getting monitoring systems, and as a consequent, we did look at that, and we went back to actually one of the organizations that helped us get the funding for this. And so I'm happy to announce that the Sustainable Development Fund has pledged $5,000 to enable monitoring of borough solar arrays. So we're working with them to try to establish, to just work out a schedule for that. So we're really excited about that initiative. Another just announcement, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection issues grants related to recycling education, and so there are efforts to obtain some of that funding. And that's all I have for EAC. With regard to Media Business Authority and business-related events, the next MBA event will be the American Roots Ramble on April 20th, and which features Ben Vaughn at this year's Ramble. Ben is a renowned musician with credits such as a documentary about his album Rambler 65, and so on. In terms of works in progress, the MBA is finalizing annual planning. They're involved in a strategic planning effort, including alignment with their plan with the borough's comprehensive planning project. They do have a representative, the Vice President Loic is going to be also on the comprehensive planning, and he will also act as a liaison between the two bodies. And they've also done a sort of a mini survey of some of the merchants. They're trying to integrate that into their own planning efforts. They're also evaluating and working with the Bureau on providing, in terms of litter management on the streets. They're reorganizing their committee structures to be more effective. and developing a strategy to connect and reconnect and increase communication with all businesses throughout the borough. In terms of completed works, the MBA had conducted or just recently passed was the Chinese New Year celebration on February 9th, and which was a successful event. Again, thanks to all those who participated in that, and a special thanks to the police and Margaret Poe's Restaurant for sponsoring the event. And I think that concludes my report.
Any questions for Councilman Stein? We'll then move on to Health and Historic with Councilwoman Borough.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have some action items for this evening. To start off with an appointment to the Board of Health, we have a Dr. Richard DeMonte, who is a resident and also has his medical office here in the borough, for the unexpired term, which expires on 12/31 of 13 this year. So I make that in the form of a motion.
Second. There's been a motion that's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those who favor the appointment of Dr. Richard DeMonte to the Board of Health for the unexpired term that will expire at the end of this year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. I think you'll make a great asset to that board. Under my second item, it would be the appointment to the Historic Archives Commission, a Stephanie Borough, for a 5-year term. And again, I think she would make an excellent addition to that particular board.
Second. So any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of appointing Stephanie Borough to a 5-year term on the Historic Archives Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, great, thank you. And thirdly, I have an appointment to the Historical Architectural Review Board of a Miss Jill Hall for an unexpired term, which expires on 12/31 of 15. Jill Hall is also a member of the DVRPC, which is the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. She has been a great asset in helping the HARB board rework a lot of their paperwork. They're putting together and reformatting a lot of the items that are all about the reproduction or architectural features of your homes, which are listed under the historic districts here in Media, which we have 3 of, possibly 5. But they're working on that. That's their next step in their process. So I think Jill Hall has been a really integral part in helping them reformat a lot of their paperwork. So I think, again, she would make another great asset to that board. And that's in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of appointing Jill Hall to the Historical Architectural Review Board for a term that expires at the end of 2015, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes.
And lastly, I think I just really have one announcement, which would be, it's not really an announcement, it's just a little piece of information that the Media Historical Society is putting together their agenda for this year. One of their items that they're really planning hard for would be a summer garden tour of homes here in Media. So get your plans out and start picking your plants and how you're going to design your yard so that maybe they will come knocking on your door and make you part of this event. I think it should be fun. I don't think it's anything that Media Borough has done before in the past that I'm aware of. And aside from the house tour that where you go in and see people's inside, now you get to see their outside. So, and that's all I have for this evening.
All right, well, thank you very much. Is there any questions for Monica? I will comment that we have a wonderfully well-qualified crowd of persons who are willing to serve the borough, and we're looking forward to all of them getting on board. All right, then we'll turn to Councilman Robinson, last but never least. Paul.
Will be as quick as possible. Before I start my report tonight, I would like to give a major shout out to our mayor. This month, 21 years ago, Bob stepped in to take the role as the mayor of the Borough of Media. He has served outstanding for at least 2 years of those 21 years. No, only joking. It's been an honor to work with him for those 21 years. Prior to that, he also has been serving this borough for 32 years as a council person prior to coming to the role as mayor. So, Bob, congratulations. Where we are today.
I'll get to what you really want to say.
I had a hard time scraping us off your shoes.
That was really hard, yes.
To add to the list, prior to that, he was serving his country.
Exactly. And running for state.
Okay.
Okay. Too many things. My report, first and foremost, every month I want to ask any resident and or non-resident of the borough that would like to volunteer to serve our immediate fire company to do so. They can serve as a firefighter and or in the administrative side of the department. It's very important. We all recognize what they do for all of us. I do not have an EMT report for this month, but I do have a fire report. For the month of January, we had 32 fire calls. I am pleased to say that we had no injuries with regards to fire department personnel. There was actually one civilian injury, which was smoke inhalation. The mayor did ask me to remind everyone about 911 and the importance of the use of 911, that if anyone has any issues, please do not hesitate to contact 911. With that, Media Borough Police Department will be dispatched for police issues and, of course, fire issues with the fire company. With that, I will move on to our agenda reports, or my agenda. Road salt contract participant agreement. This is actually an agreement that we try to do each year with the Department of General Services and our Co-Stars program, which really is nothing more than a cooperative program with municipalities within the Commonwealth that we go out and purchase our sodium chloride, or as we all know it as road salt. So I'd make a motion that we move forward with the Co-Stars and Department of General Services contract for the purchase of road salt.
Second?
Motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of Borough Media entering into a contract to participate with regard to road salt, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Next on the agenda is to authorize our engineer to advertise bids for the 2013 street road repaving and restructuring projects. We're going to start early this year, and we're going to get done early this year. So with that, that is in the form of a motion to authorize the engineer to advertise bids for road resurfacing for 2013.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing our engineer to advertise bids for this year's street, road, repaving, and reconstruction projects, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay.
Next on the agenda is
Motion
resolution.
passes.
Pardon me?
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2013, and really what this is that through our gasoline taxes in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, there is it trickles down to our county, which the county references as the liquid fuels tax. We are required to put in a request to the county for the use of these funds for using for milling and resurfacing purposes. So in that, I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2013-02, an application for county aid, and that's the form of a motion.
Second?
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2013-02 with regard to the application for county aid, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Next on the agenda, I was not that familiar with, so I might need some help from Mr. Smith, but Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, this would be nothing more than executing an agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection for the purchase.
Yeah, actually, we're fortunate to get funded for the Public Works Department. Mr. Groves have been asking for leaf vac, so Mr. Robinson, if it's okay, it would be a motion to execute upon the review of the borough solicitor, entering into an agreement with the DEP so that we properly expend the funds on a new leaf vac.
I will take that in the form of my motion.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of executing the leaf vac recycling agreement with the review of our solicitor. Please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
All right, the next 6 items on my agenda reflect mass gathering permits. I will say that I have some questions and/or concerns, but after significant conversation with my council president and with our solicitor, I feel comfortable that we can move forward with these applications, recognizing that there may need to be some tweaking with some of the applications, and also that within the next 2 or 3 months, I will make some sort of a motion that I'm asking that this council be provided greater time. I mean, these applications came in January, all the applicants are now asking for answers in our February meeting, and I don't think it provides council opportune time to review, discuss with the applicants, and the possibility of modifying some of the applications. But, you know, after significant time that I've spent with Brian, I'm comfortable with moving forward. So, starting off with the mass gathering permit for Town Talk newspaper Spring Super Sunday, April 14th, 2013, I make a motion we approve the mass gathering permit as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those who favor granting the mass gathering permit to the Town Talk newspaper's Spring Super Sunday event, which is April 14th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Next is I make a motion that we approve the mass gathering permit application for the Media Farmers Market for Thursdays from May 9th through November 21st. The reasons, my understanding, they are required to obtain a mass gathering permit is because they are on borough property, and that they are right now using the parking lot next to the media theater. So I make that is in the form of a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those who favor granting the mass gathering permit to the Media Farmers Market for Thursdays, May 9th through November 21, in the lot that sits next to the media theater, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Next is I make a motion that we approve the application of the Brandywine Valley Craft Brewers Festival, which will be held Saturday, May 18th, 2013.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? I'd only add that, as in previous years, we make a request that the amplified sound be as amplified as little as they need, because sometimes the sound is heard all throughout the borough. So I'd suggest that we remind them to keep it down as much as they can.
You can remind them about the words amendment.
Good deal. Okay, all those in favor, we have a motion that's been seconded. Is there any other discussion on the motion? I'm hearing any. All those who favor granting the application to the Brandywine Valley Craft Brewers Festival for their May 18th event, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And next on the list is the mass gathering permit application for Town Talk newspaper's Arts and Craft Show Sunday, June 2nd, 2013, and I make that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those who favor granting the mass gathering permit for the Town Talk newspaper's Arts and Craft Show on June 2 of this year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Next is I make this in the form of a motion to grant the application of the 5 Mile Race Incorporated for Friday, June 21st, 2013, as the application is submitted, or as submitted. Excuse me.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
President?
Yes.
In doing my specifications for the 2013 road, the date on this flyer was given to me was June 14th, which I put the specifications. I see here it's June 21st. I'd just like to know which is the correct date so I can...
The 21st.
Okay, thank you.
Rob.
I'm going to change it. I just picked it up tonight.
Not your fault. Thank you.
Good catch.
All right. There's a motion's been made and it's been seconded. There's been no call for discussion. All those who favor granting the permit for, the mass gathering permit for the Media 5 Mile Race for the Media 5 Mile Race of June 21 of this year, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Last but not least, this is in the form of a motion to approve the application for a mass gathering permit for the CAC Fine Arts and Craft Festival for Saturday, September 28th, 2013.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Is this festival going to be between Orange Street and Monroe, or is it going to cross over Orange Street, as we had discussed?
The
in
original
public safety.
The original application goes through Orange Street. I believe Mr. Messick is here this evening, but in emails running between meetings today, I think it was communicated that it could be shortened to Orange Street east.
If the count, yeah, I mean, they would prefer to go.
Mr. Messick, we have the microphone.
Sorry, Mr. Messick.
Please identify yourself by name and, is it on?
Yeah.
Name and address. You don't need to give the number.
Brian Messick, work in media. We would prefer to go across Orange Street, but if it is an issue, I know, in contention with the council, we'd be willing to shrink it, to not go across, and then maybe, put an addendum. It's
When
really
is your drop dead date, if I could be so frank as, if we could sit down with, with either some members of council and or business authority people to finalize this,
we can go, I would say probably June. Yeah, if we can get the date, so we can start promoting the event and getting the artists' interest, just because that takes.
If you could hold off on anything for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, is that too late?
Well, if the council could approve the date minus crossing.
You could approve it to Orange Street, and then if you want to later
Amend it.
extend
Amend
it,
it.
you'd have to have a separate vote for that.
We can amend to extend.
Then have the,
Okay, all right. Orange Street to Monroe, and then we can extend it if we so desire. So I make a motion that we amend the original motion to our application to reflect Monroe Street to east of Orange Street for the application. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
All right, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion?
I just want to go on record as saying that I do think, that it is a good idea whenever possible to extend the boundaries to include the west end of the business district.
Any other discussion on the motion?
I agree with that.
All right.
And I'll chime in and say that I think it's something that we need to look at for public safety reasons, as addressed in council caucus meetings. I'm still trying to find what the idea behind that is. If we're out to promote businesses in all media, or if we're out to just to promote businesses on State Street. I don't want to get into it this evening, but I think that we are looking at satisfying the needs of few while sacrificing, for a lot. I mean, it is an issue for people who reside in our borough to get to from their homes to Baltimore Pike, and from Baltimore Pike to their homes to these events. And we're literally talking about 30 yards at the max. So I don't want to, unless you want to get into it tonight, I'm fine with the way the motion reads right now.
I think that this is a good subject for our next workshop meeting, which will be the first Thursday of next month at 7:30. Mr. Messick, it'll be, if you could be present and offer your views about why, about the extent of the event, we'd be pleased to hear them at that time.
Great.
Okay. All right, so I'll call the question. All those who favor granting the mass gathering permit for the CAC Fine Arts and Crafts Festival to be held on September 28, 2013 from, at least at the present time, Monroe Street to Orange Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Robinson? Not hearing any. And before we get to our second version of the public comment and privilege of the floor, I should identify that we have had executive session today before our meeting, and we discussed a litigation matter. Having said that, public comment and privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who is present here who wishes to address council at this time? Mr. Rumsey.
Terry Rumsey, 342 West 4th Street here in the Borough of Media. Just want to announce an important community event. It's going to happen right here at the Community Center on Thursday, March 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. A group called Democracy Unplugged is sponsoring something called Guns in America After Sandy Hook, which is a forum on firearms policy in the USA. Brian Miller, who's the executive director of Heeding God's Call, which is a national gun violence prevention group, is going to be on a panel with Mayor John Linder of Chester, who's representing mayors against illegal guns, which our own mayor is a member of, and then David John from the Libertarian Party, who's a gun rights advocate, is going to be sitting on the other side of the issue, and a representative of the National Rifle Association. So it's going to be an important community discussion about an issue that's obviously been in the news. Welcome council members to come, and also all the members of the public to have both to hear from experts, but also to express their opinions.
So Terry, people can come to this building and have a choice between coming up to our caucus meeting or coming to something that may be a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I think that they have their choice in that. But for those who would like to maybe go to the more interesting event, it's Thursday, March 7th, 7 to 9 p.m., Guns in America After Sandy Hook.
Thank you.
Probably not going to argue the point. Anyone else wish to come before council at this time? Ms. Miller?
Cindy Miller, Oak Crest Lane, Public Providence. And thank you once again for allowing somebody outside the borough to speak. Councilwoman Merrick, I want to thank you for clarifying whether or not borough residents or folks outside the borough were welcome to go on the trips or the dance or anything that the borough is sponsoring. But I guess my question to Councilman Robinson is, if the borough gets first choice, do we outside the borough then go on a wait list to see if there's space?
The way it has been done historically is that this is sponsored by the borough, and borough people do get, but normally went on, I'm not part of the rec commission, but there was a time period that tickets were only sold to borough residents, and then it was opened up to the general public.
Okay, when might that happen? When might somebody outside
You
the
would
borough?
have to touch base with whoever is chairing the recreation commission, which is gone. So that was historic policy. I don't know if it's changed. I mean, it is a program that's sponsored by taxpayer dollars, and what we have done is try to make sure that residents of the borough that want to go have that opportunity. But then, of course, as Dawn said, if there's tickets, we would much rather have people attend than to have a bus, 3/4 full. And that's it.
And the question about the credit card use. I know that credit card companies now have the opportunity to charge a 3 to 4% rate over and above what your bill is. Is that rate going to be tacked onto our, should we slide a card through a meter?
Councilman Stein?
Actually, it's the, not the credit card companies, but it's the merchants that are allowed to pass through the credit card fees. That's now the law. So it's an election. Right now, there's no change in the rate. We are charging $2 for 3 hours using the credit card.
So literally, then there's no additional fee on top of that?
There's some recouping of just the operating costs to use those, which include, which is a small percentage, yes, just to make sure that we're not losing money when we put through those, because there are transaction fees.
Right, I realize that. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
So who is absorbing those transaction fees?
The users.
The users.
The card holders.
Okay. So that is the way the system's set up.
Yes.
So it would be, if they put in the
Yes.
$2, they really don't get $2 worth of time. They get $2 less 2 point whatever.
If you put coins in, it would cost $1.50. Use a credit card, it's going to cost.
For the same, okay, that's what I was trying to say.
For the 3 hours?
3 hours.
For the same time.
Yeah, we have remarkably low rates. It's 50 cents an hour. You're not going to find too many places you can do that. You can get about 2 minutes in Philadelphia for that. So, and then when we looked at this from a financial perspective, so that we could enable this, your minimum and your maximum is 3 hours. It's $2, and that ensures that it's a viable, sustainable business model for it to work. So for the convenience, but people who want to use coin, it's $1.50. So there's a small charge passed through for the operating costs that were charged by the credit card company and the clearinghouse that are used. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Folks who just keep their quarters can.
Yes.
Or get a smart card.
Right, or get a smart card.
Can I just make a really quick clarification, which I think we're right, and Paula, Tamara, and Jeff can slap our wrists if I'm wrong on this, but just about the tickets and the access to event tickets, like, we get lift tickets or amusement park tickets, soccer games, things like that. I think that the borough buys them at discounted prices and obviously passes that discount on, but there is, from what I've seen in the past, there's a cost to media borough residents, and then there's a non-resident cost. Okay. They're both discounted, but I think there is a slight difference just in like a borough resident versus like someone from out of town. But they're both discounted, and they're all, purchased by the recreation committee with the backing of the borough.
I guess.
But there's no access limitation. Okay. Like, if you're a non-resident and you call before a resident, you would obviously get the ticket, but it would just be at a slightly different price than a resident.
I guess what I was asking was the bus trip to the Titanic. I didn't see a difference in price for resident versus non-resident on that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll check with Paula tomorrow if you want, and maybe ask Paula and or Jeff to just put that out and clarify that on the website, just so folks are clear on that. But everything that I've seen to date, I haven't looked at the Titanic exhibit ticket, so I can't speak to that. But I know that there's no waiting list or priority. It's just a slightly different price. Am I right, Jeff?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. So moved, it's been seconded. We are adjourned. Good night, folks.
Oh, yeah.